Turn that water down.
There we go. Yeah, because they were still in here. So we got you. Okay.
We all told. Okay, all praises. All praise. Oh, running. Cool. Oh, I thought you were saying you was gonna run it back. My bad. All praises. All praises.
Oh, praise. Hey, sometimes there's some technical difficulties. It's all right. No, we got the sound going right now. Everything should be heard. So if you pick up kind of from the beginning because they couldn't hear you, that
Gotcha.
should work.
Gotcha. So yeah, shalom, Mishpachah. Just been praying it all as well, and that the shalom of Yahuwah is upon everyone. As you've already noticed, today we're going to be going over Feast of Trumpets. So hopefully everyone that watches will be edified. It's my prayer that you'll walk away with a fresh perspective of the feast day, and not this one alone, but hopefully it'll give you a fresh perspective on the whole fall feast season in general. So for some of you, I understand this will be a review for things that you already know, and for some, this may be new. But either way, it's my prayer that everyone has their spirit uplifted in this season.
Well, yeah.
All praises. So, what is the Feast of Trumpets all about, right? As we start going into these feast days, it'd be beneficial for us to ask, well, what's the purpose of this season? What's the purpose of this particular feast day? What is it all about,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, is it just to be blowing some trumpets? Is it well, what is the day about?
So, question.
All praises. So, just some questions to keep going as we go through the feast, or as go through the study rather, and through the feast. But what is the purpose of Yahuwah's feast days? What's the significance of this feast? What is a teruah? Because the feast day is called Yom Teruah. So Yom means day, and then we got this word teruah. They translate as trumpets. Question is, what is a teruah? And then what is the importance of this feast day for you today? Right? Not this day, not today in per se, but just today as in today's time. So what's the purpose of Yahuwah's feast days? Right? Leviticus 23, verse 1 says, and Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, the appointed times of Yahuwah, which you are to proclaim as set apart gatherings, my appointed times are these. Right? KJV translates it as, and Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feast of Yahuwah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. So we have two different things highlighted here, one in yellow and one in blue. One is that these are appointed times or feasts to Yahuwah, and the other is that these are holy convocations or set apart gatherings, right? So, question would be, what is an appointed time, and what is a set apart gathering, and then how does this particular feast an appointed time in a set apart gathering? So, how is what makes this one an appointed time or a set apart gathering? Like, what is so special about this one? What message is the Father trying to convey to us? So, anybody want to take a shot at any of them questions? If not, we'll keep it moving because we'll dig into it. But if anything stands out, definitely feel free to share. No, all told, all praises. So, appointed times are feasts, right? So these are, we know that they're called Moedim, right? It's from H4150. A Moed is the singular, Moedah is the feminine. Um, but it's from H3259, properly an appointment that is a fixed time or season, specifically a festival, an assembly as convened for a definite purpose. Technically, the congregation, by extension, a place of meeting, also a signal, as appointed beforehand. It's appointed sign or time, right? So it's an appointed or a due season, right? It's this these are set times. They're operating on the schedule that the Father has set, right? Again, not trying to get into the calendar debate because that's not even where the scope of this lesson is going. Whatever calendar you're on, you can understand the gravity of what it is that the Father is trying to express with these appointed times. Well, why is he setting these dates in these times, right? So H3259 is the root of the word ya'ad, to fix upon, by agreement or appointment, by implication to meet at a stated time, to summon, to trial, to direct in a certain quarter or position, to engage for marriage, to agree, to make an appointment, to assemble selves, to betroth, to gather selves together, to meet together, to set a time. Right. So just as we go through the lesson, is it possible that these appointed times are times where the Father might be trying to connect with his people?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
All praises. So by now we know that these feast days are signs or signals of greater things that are to come. They are a call for the people of Yahuwah to gather in one place on one accord for Yahuwah's purpose. So notice how agreement with Yahuwah is going to be important if you want to gather with him, right? So you're going to have to be on one accord with him if you want to gather with him, right? Amos 3:1, we've been over this infinitum at this point. Hear this word that Yahuwah has spoken against you, O people of Israel, against the whole family that I brought up out of the land of Egypt. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. Do two walk together unless they have agreed to meet? Right? So this doesn't work in the physical plane. It's not going to work in the spiritual plane. The goal here is that we can be on one accord with the one who is setting the time and appointing the time. Then when we show up, we ready for the right purposes, right?
Indeed.
So next word was mikra, right? This is H4744, is something called out. That is a public meeting. The act, the persons, or the place. Also a rehearsal, right? So this is going to be key in us understanding what these feast days are about. A rehearsal. It's an assembly, a calling, a convocation, a reading. Comes from the root 7121, kara, rather identical with 7122 through the idea of accosting a person met. To call out to, that is properly to address by name, but using a variety of applications to berate self, those that are bidden, to call, to invite, to call forth, to cry, to be famous, to be a guest, to invite, to mention, to give name, to preach, make a proclamation, to pronounce, to publish, to read, renown, to say, right? So notice here that these gatherings or convocations are to be set apart. So you have to ask to whom and for what purpose are they set apart for. So these are a rehearsal. So you have to ask yourself, what are you rehearsing when you gather for these feast days, right? The purpose of it is not just to put on the shiny shoes and the big hat, right? Like it actually is, quote unquote, not to be cliche, but a reason for the season. And then also notice that the root of the next word, or that the root of this word is to call out as an invitation or being called out to a certain place to meet. But remember, how can two walk together without having agreement to meet, right? So these are called to those that are bidden or invited. What I want us to see is that an invitation has been sent out to us as Israel, and now we have to make ourselves ready, right? So again, these are rehearsals, and as we start going through these feasts, we're seeing that we're rehearsing something to get ready for a big event and a big meeting to take place. but we're gonna have to be ready for that. And so, in order for that to be the case, we go through these cycles to try to get it right, get better, and glory to glory, keep trying to perfect the walk. All right, so notice how in the last slide in the definition we saw to read, right? In both of those, in both words, it has to read. There were readings that took place on these days of the Father's word. So I hope everyone is ready to do some reading. This is going to be a little bit long of a lesson. Hopefully it won't be too long, but when we start getting into what they was doing here, I didn't feel so bad. But hopefully it'll be a refreshing to the soul, because ultimately this is what that day is about, right? All of these days, Shabbat, that's what these days are about. So Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1, this is something to pay attention to because this is connected to this particular feast day. Right. So Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1, it says, and when the seventh new month or seventh new moon came, the children of Israel were in their cities when it's Feast of Trumpets on that day. Right. So something is taking place on this day, and it kind of give you a little bit of an understanding of the reason, quote unquote, for the season. Says, and all the people gathered together as one man in the open space that was in the front of the water gate. And they spoke to Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the Torah of Moses, which Yahuwah had commanded Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the Torah before the assembly of both men and women and all who could hear with understanding on the first day of the seventh new month or seventh new moon. And he read from it in the open space in front of the water gate from morning until midday. So he started reading out of the Torah in the morning until midday before the men and women and those who could understand. And the ears of all the people listened to the book of the Torah or of the law. And the scribes stood on a platform of wood which they had made for the purpose. And beside him on his right stood Mattathiah and Shema and Ananiah and Uriah and Hilkiah and Maaseiah. And on his left stood Pedaiah and Mishael and Malchiah and Hashum and Hashbadana, Zechariah, Meshullam. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. Speaking of his elevation, obviously. And when he opened it, all the people stood up. And Ezra blessed Yahuwah, the great Elohim. Then all the people answered, Amen, while lifting up their hands. And they bowed their heads and worshiped Yahuwah with faces to the ground.
This is deep. The importance is not often stressed because when it comes to spiritual things, quite often we think we have enough understanding to be on terms with the creator of all things. But how can you come to a true agreement if you're not thorough about going over the terms of the agreement?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's what they were doing here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All praises. All praises. Nehemiah 8 and 7. And Yeshua and Benai and Sherebiah, Yamin, Akub, Shabbatai, Hodiah, Maaseiah, Kalita, Azariah, Yazabad, Hanan, Peliah, and the Levites caused the people to understand the Torah while the people were in their place. And they read in the book of the Torah of Elohim, translating to give the sense and cause them to understand the reading. And Nehemiah, who was the governor, and Ezra the priest, the scribe, and the Levites who taught the people, said to all the people, this day is set apart to Yahuwah your Elohim. Do not mourn or weep. For all the people wept when they heard the words of the Torah. Then he said to them, go, eat the fat, drink the sweet, and send portions to those for whom none is prepared. For this day is set apart to our master. Do not be sad, for the joy of Yahuwah is your strength. Now, mind you, this is being said when? And
Feast of Trumpets,
Feast of
just
Trumpets,
just coming
right?
out of captivity, starting to rebuild.
Mm.
Yeah, starting from the bottom.
Hmm. All praises. And the Levites were silencing all the people, saying, "Hush, for the day is set apart. Do not be sad." And all the people went to eat and drink and send portions and make a great rejoicing because they understood the words that were made known to them. Mm.
All praises.
All praises.
And then in verse 9 it says, "Do not weep or mourn." Now it's reasonable to lament when you think about your portion of shame, when you see the correlation between sin and the degradation that happened to the people, and you're conscious of that. It's reasonable to be sad
Mhm.
about that,
Mhm.
but they're strategically saying this day is set apart unto
Mhm.
your Elohim.
Mhm.
Like it's a celebration. Don't be sad on this day.
Mhm.
Like he's welcoming you
Mhm.
home.
That part. Hmm. Paradigm shift, right?
Hmm.
Glass not being half empty but half full.
Yeah, yeah.
Like at that point, it's like, yeah, we've been gone for a minute, and we done been through a lot, and we know the reason why. Now we done read all of this and always said that XYZ was gonna happen if, and then we have lived that and we see it. But then on the flip side, look how great our Alua is. Like, look what he's done. We're back.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't completely do away with us.
Mm. And this is happening again. I keep stressing on this day. Everything happens in the Father's time and for a reason. Like you can go through all of these feast days and you can find where something is happening on these feast days and it's telling you something about his master plan.
Hmm.
All praises. But preparation for the gathering. Matthew 22, verse 1. Just something to keep in mind when we thinking about this gathering with Yahuwah, right? Matthew 22, 1, it says, "And Yahushua responded and spoke to them again by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like a man, a sovereign or a king who made a wedding feast for his son and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast. But they would not come. Again, he sent out other servants, saying, say to those who are invited. Again, we saw that to be invited. That was one of the terms in that Strong's for what we supposed to be doing on these feast days, right?
Hmm.
It's an invitation that's going out.
Yeah.
See how some treat the invitation. See, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle are slaughtered, and all is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they disregarded it and went their way. This one to his field, that one to his trade. And the rest, having seized his servants, insulted and killed them. But when the king heard, he was wroth and sent out his soldiers, destroyed those murderers, and set their city on fire. What city is that?
What was just happening in Nehemiah,
Hmm.
and how come?
Mm-hmm.
What are they trying to rebuild from?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Then he said to his servants, the wedding feast indeed is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Therefore, go into the street corners, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding feast. And those servants went out into the street corners and gathered all whom they found, both wicked and told were good. And the wedding hall was filled with guests. And when the sovereign or the king came in to view these guests, he saw there was a man who had not put on a wedding garment. And he said to him, friend, how did you come in here not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away, and throw him out into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. Hmm.
Mhm.
All praises.
So it's not enough to heed your calling.
Hmm.
You got to work your calling that you might be chosen.
Hmm.
You know, that's always saying, over there. I said I'm gonna stay over there. When you had asked the question earlier, like, will these feast days be um, leading up to something or an indication of something? This is literally the scripture that came to my mind because it makes me think of. It's like, okay, when you think about all of the fall feasts, it literally makes me think of, like it says, preparation for the gathering, but the marriage. Like you're being called because you think about it, okay, it's an announcement. Announcement's going to be made. Hey, somebody get married. Something's going to happen.
Mhm.
And then you have atonement. You got to
Mhm.
have that preparation time to prepare yourself for the wedding. You have to be
Mhm.
set apart. You have to be,
Mhm.
there's lots of cultures that have different preparations for weddings. Some
Mhm.
cultures, when their women are about to get married, they feed them a whole bunch of stuff and get them real plump, real fat.
Mhm. Mhm.
Other cultures, they got these traditions where you can't see each other for so
Mhm.
much time or blah blah blah, whatever.
Mhm.
Either way, there's that preparation time,
Mhm.
and then you have the gathering, the actual consummation or the
Mhm.
the coming together and the that
Mhm.
of the marriage. So it just to call it back to the question you answered earlier, like yes, that's what it makes me think of is a marriage or something like that being
Mhm.
announced and being prepared for.
Mhm. All praises. All praises. So that kind of answers the next question that I had was what was this parable talking about? Kind of answers that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next question will be how do we prepare our garments? Because that's why this man's got kicked out.
Oh baby.
Mm.
Wash and make it clean.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, you have to be invited, and then you have to capitalize on that invitation. It's been said that what was required before is the same thing that's required now. You gotta put away the old ways, learn the Heavenly Father's ways. You gotta get familiar with the terms and come into agreement with your actions.
Mhm.
By your actions, come into agreement with the Creator.
Mhm. All praises. All praises. And then just keeping in mind, like in the context of this, that's why I had the washboards and stuff up there. Like this ain't just pop a garment in the washing machine, set and forget. Keep your garments clean. It was work that was required on your part, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's easy to not really think about the value of keeping clean garments. In their day, keeping clean garments is it's a whole nother thing. It's not so easy, right? They would in like even before washboards and things like that, like would take the clothes down to like a creek or a river and stomp them on the smooth stones. Like this is not the easiest thing to do. Keep your garments right in that time.
Um,
I was gonna say too, that makes me think they probably made an effort to be careful what they got on their garments because of the okay no the whole process is gonna take some time. So just physically speaking, let me make sure I watch out what I'm doing, because if I know that the deeper or the deeper the stain is, the more I'm gonna have to really work hard to get it out, or whatever colors it is. Same with us spiritually, being prepared has to do with that as well, like preparation. Just making sure that you know what to do beforehand and then stick it with that. You know what I mean? And just being careful what you put on your garment, because the deeper you get into what they send, the more it's harder it is for you to get out of it.
All praises.
And I just wanted to excuse me, find that scripture that I was referring to earlier. That's Isaiah 1 and 16 through 18. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 16 through chapter 1, that's right. Verse 16 through 18. Because you had asked, how do we keep our
Mm-hmm.
garments clean? And
Mm-hmm.
literally, that's the one that came to my
Mm-hmm.
mind
Mm-hmm.
immediately. It says,
Mm-hmm.
wash yourselves, make yourselves clean. Literally, put away the evil of your doings from before my face, from before my eyes. Stop doing evil
Mhm.
with an exclamation point on there. Stop doing
Mhm.
evil, period. Learn to do good. Seek right ruling. Reprove the oppressor. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now and let us reason together, says Yahuwah.
Mhm.
Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall be as wool. Excuse me. And so yeah, that's literally making our garments clean, getting ourselves
Mhm.
cleaned up and preparing ourselves.
Mhm. All praises.
Yeah, it's important to look at these things and to wrap our minds around the fact that we live in this physical realm. The Creator is spiritual. As we learn His ways, the way we reason with Him is by manifesting His ways through ourselves. He gives you a list of things to start with, but it's recognizing when those opportunities to do good come up and capitalizing on them.
Mhm. All praises. All praises. Preparing your garments. So Revelation 3 and 5. Right? He who overcomes shall be dressed in white robes, and I shall by no means blot out his name from the book of life. But I shall confess his name before my Father and bless his messengers. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach or what the Spirit says to the assemblies. Right? So, question will be, well, what do we have to wake up from, and how can we overcome and prepare our garments? Right? Like, that's going to keep on being the tone of this lesson is really putting in the mind, well, what is this season preparing us for? And how can we be in season in this season? Revelation 18, verse 1. It says, and after this, I saw another messenger coming down from the Shamayim, from the heavens, having great authority, and the earth was lighting from his esteem. And he cried with a mighty voice, saying, Babel, the great, is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, and a haunt for every unclean and hated bird, because all the nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her whoring. So something about the whoring that they're drinking from is opening up a space for unclean ruachs, unclean beast, hmm, making it a dwelling place for certain unsavory, unclean ruachs. Hmm. And I just wonder if the same kind of circumstances are going on where we at now. So that means it's gonna be some work that you're gonna have to do to fight against this beast so that you don't get swept up with it, right? Hmm. Because all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoring, and the sovereigns of the earth have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of her riotous living. So something about this riotous living. And I heard another voice from the Shamayim or from the heavens saying, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. Because her sins have piled up to reach the heaven. Elohim has remembered her unrighteousness. So goes in line with what Ak was just saying, right? Ceasing that moment to do righteousness and ceasing that moment to stand upright, looking for that opportunity to do tobe. It's gonna mean a lot in this day and time, in this day and age. And then just keeping in mind that on the flip side of it, all of these feast days are what? Centered around harvest. So that means that there's a bringing forth of fruit that should be taking place and that should be ready to be harvested during these feast seasons.
And when it's not available, although provision was made, so it should produce a harvest. When it's unavailable and he's reaping, that means someone's been unfaithful,
Mm-hmm.
or in other words, gone a whoring.
Mm-hmm. All praises. Oh, Revelation 19, right? It says, and after this I heard a loud voice of a great crowd in the Shamayim saying, Hallelujah, deliverance and esteem and respect and power to you who are Elohim, because true and righteous are his judgments, because he has judged the great whore who corrupted the earth with her whoring, and he has avenged on her the blood of his servants shed by her. And the second time they said, Hallelujah, and her smoke rises up forever and ever. And the 24 elders and the four living creatures fell down and worshipped Elohim, who sat on the throne, saying, Amen, hallelujah, hallelujah. And a voice came from the throne saying, Praise our Elohim, all you his servants and all those who fear him, both small and great. And I heard as the voice of a great crowd, as the sound of many waters, and as the sound of mighty thunder, saying, Hallelujah, or hallelujah, for Yahuwah El Shaddai reigns. Let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife prepared herself. And to her it was given to be dressed in fine linen, clean and bright, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the set apart ones. What did I just say? Right? Hmm. And he said to me, Right, blessed are those who have been called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said to me, These are the true words of Elohim. And I fell at his feet to worship him, but he said to me, See, do not do it. I am your fellow servant and of your brothers who possess the witness of Yahusha. Worship Elohim, for the witness of Yahusha is the spirit of prophecy. Hmm. Ephesians 5, starting at verse 1. It says, Become then imitators of Elohim as beloved children, and walk in love, as Mashiach also has loved us and gave himself for us, a gift and an offering to Elohim for a sweet smelling fragrance. But whoring and all uncleanness and or greed of gain, let it not even be named among you, as is proper among set apart ones. Sound like those same things that got Babylon in trouble. Whoring, greed of gain. Huh. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor coarse jesting, which are not fitting, but rather thanksgiving. Bouncing back over to what we just saw in Nehemiah's day, right? Nah, this day, set this apart for Thanksgiving. For this you know, that no one who whores, nor unclean one, nor greedy of gain, who is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom or the reign of Mashiach and Elohim. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these, the wrath of Elohim comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not become partakers with them, for you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Master. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Ruach is in all tobness or goodness and righteousness and truth. Last lesson was on truth, proving what is well pleasing to the Master, right? So, next question would be, how do we prove what is well pleasing to Yahuwah? Again, it seems like a simple concept, but it really is important when we're talking about it really, any day in this walk, but especially in this season. Romans 12 and 1. I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living sacrifice or a living offering, set apart, well pleasing to Elohim, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that tov and well pleasing and perfect desire of Elohim. So it's a transformation that has to take place. That's how we do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to call back to Isaiah 1 and 17. It says, Learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. As we do these things, yeah, there's going to be opposition because certain things in the atmosphere want to discourage you from being strengthened in anything that is not wickedness. But on the flip side, if you endure The Father is going to be pleased with you learning to do well, and then His joy that He takes in your newfound behavior
Mm-hmm.
is going to be incentive for Him to strengthen you.
Ooh, whole bar.
His joy is your strength.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to maintain things that He's displeased with,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and thus we can prove what's pleasing unto.
Mm-hmm. All praises. All praises. Jumping back to Ephesians 5:11. Have no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness. Again, this is all about a harvest season, right? On one hand, he's telling you to be fruitful, and then have no dealings with the fruitless.
Mm,
Hmm. How well does fruit grow in darkness? Do crops grow that well in darkness,
not well at all.
or do they need light?
Only certain
Mm.
It's usually bacteria, mold, fungus,
Mm.
things that decay
will be composed.
and decompose.
Hmm. Very, very interesting. Have no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness, but rather convict them. For it is a shame even to speak of what is done by them in secret. But all matters being convicted are manifested by the light. For whatever is manifested is light. That is why he says, wake up, you who sleep. Do what?
Wake up.
Uh, all praises. Keep that in mind. For whatever is or and arise from the dead. So something about this waking up got to do with life, transferring from death into life,
Mhm.
a resurrection. On one hand, we see that this is going to happen at a later point, right?
Uh-huh.
But then there's also a process of that that happens now with the renewing of the mind and putting off the old man and walking in the new. Hmm.
Yeah. Going back to that, coming into agreement
Mm.
in the very beginning, or at least this beginning, it says He breathed the breath of life into man's nostril,
Mm.
caused him to become a living soul.
Mm.
Being in agreement, He provides His breath of life. You
Mm.
live.
Mm.
When you're in disagreement with Him, you done transgressed. Your sins are like scarlet, like crimson. You can be cut off from life, yet you're still in existence, but you're cut off from
Mm.
all those things that would allow you to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, without being tapped into darkness.
Mm. Mm. All praises. Says that is why he says, "Wake up, you who sleep, and arise from the dead." Wake up. Hmm. Just keep that in mind. And Mashiach shall shine on you. See then that you walk exactly, not as unwise, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are wicked. Hmm. So then, do not be foolish, but understand what the desire of Yahuwah is. We keep coming back to that, right? Now, mind you, what happened in the days of Nehemiah and Ezra? It said that the people heard the words and they understood.
Mm-hmm.
And because they understood, they were able to bring forth certain things,
Uh-huh.
right? Rebuilding of this temple. Hmm.
Come on.
Which, yeah, Father Willing will dig more into that next go round of this season is about rebuilding this temple, but I ain't gonna get ahead of myself. But yeah, rebuilding the temple in you. I just leave it at that.
Come
All
on now.
praises.
Come on.
All
Listen,
praises.
it sounds like you going right where I was. I know it.
All praises.
I know you are.
All praises.
All praises. So what verse was we at? 18? Yeah, 18. He says, and do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Ruach, speaking to each other in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to the master, giving thanks always for all to Elohim the Father, in the name of our Master Yahushua Mashiach, subjecting yourselves to each other in the fear of Elohim. Hmm.
Mhm. Don't fear correction, realizing it aids humility.
Hmm.
That's exactly what we all need.
Hmm. Hmm. All praises. What was that? SATC. Humiliation.
Hmm.
Hmm. So he says, wives, subject yourselves to your own husbands as to the master, because the husband is the head of the Isha or the wife, as also the Mashiach is the head of the assembly, and he is the savior of the body. But as the assembly is subject to Mashiach, so also let wives be to their own husbands in every respect. Husbands, love your wives as Mashiach also did love the assembly and gave himself for it, in order to set it apart and to cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. So we talking about preparing the garments, and we talking about staying clean, right? And it's telling you, boom, right there, how to do it.
Hmm.
Humility and setting yourself apart, cleansing it with the washing of water by the word. Hmm. In order to present it to himself a splendid assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any of this sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. In this way, husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but feeds and cherishes it, as also the master does the assembly, because we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This secret is great, but I speak concerning Mashiach and the assembly. However, you too, everyone, let each one have his own wife as himself, and let the wife see that she fears her husband. So, preparing our garments, right? The reason for the season. Notice how doing these rehearsals are preparing us for the ultimate wedding feast of Yahuwah and Yahusha, right? Mashiach is our bridegroom, right? This process is designed, if we will have the ears to hear and eyes to see, to prepare us for entrance into the kingdom. Each one of these feasts are designed to teach us what must be done in order for our garments to be clean and without spot so that we can participate in the wedding feast. So, what's the significance of the Feast of Trumpets or Yom Teruah, right? Of this part of the process. So at this point, we done been through Pesach. We done been through first fruits, unleavened bread. We done been through Shavuot or Pentecost, right? Feast of Weeks. Now here we are, right? We in a home stretch now. Home stretch. And them bad boys is boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Mm. Yom Teruah. All right, so Leviticus 23:23. It says, And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the seventh month, in the first day, again, that same day that we just saw in Nehemiah, or in Ezra, rather, shall you have a Shabbat, a memorial of blowing trumpets, a Shabbaton Zikron Teruah, a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire, Wahik Rabtim Isha unto Yahuwah. So I won't bore y'all with going through the Hebrew, but those two phrases in the purple and the red are likewise in purple and red in the Hebrew there, right? But like I said, put it there, transliterated it right there next to the actual translation. So when you look at this in Hebrew, we see something very interesting. The verse is translated as a blowing of trumpets, but this is not what it says in Hebrew. The Hebrew word for trumpet is shofar, but here the word is teruah. So again, the question is, what is a teruah? And how do we memorialize the teruah? And then, mind you, we're saying memorialize because it's a memorial. right? A zikron. It's you're supposed to remember something. It's a for remembrance of something at the quote unquote what they translated blowing of these trumpets. So anybody got anything on well what is because again, like I said, the word there is not trumpet, it's not shofar, it's teruah.
Um, just well, I'll just what I have so far is like a clamor. It's like an alarm. And
Mm.
I know that because shameless plug here, be on the lookout on our on our page. We will have like pages for the children, activities for the Yellow Dean for in regards to the fall feasts coming up pretty soon.
All
And I know
praises.
that because it's a part of the activities for the fall feast that we have coming up. And I put the definition of Teruah on.
Hmm. All praises.
So be on the lookout for that. Everybody who's watching, if you're interested in some activities, crossword puzzles, coloring pages, things like that for the Yellow Team in regard to all the fall feasts that will be posted fairly soon here to the Facebook page. Um, and that way, the Yellow Dean will be learning about the fall feast as well.
All praises. Spot on. All praises. So we're gonna get into that a little bit more in the slides to come. But moving on to the next. Oh, go ahead.
Just wanted to add like a almost like voice blast sound, like a voice or a blast or a sound. It makes me think about Abiyah is on his throne. We're down here. So if we perform or keep the feast days with this blast or voice, Abiyah can remember us. He can recall to mind what the covenant that he made with our forefathers. That he can remember us, his people. Not that he would forget, but this is all the memorial and the process of the reason why. Maybe it's for us to be able to, okay, humility. Though Abiyah, everything he does is for a purpose. I'm just saying, if we have this blast or voice or shout or sound, Abiyah, he'll hear and he will remember.
All right, and then you got something out?
Yeah, I was gonna say some of the events we see happening these days,
Mm,
things that make you stop and say, "Yeah, we get near the end."
mm,
Um, it's like I said earlier, those that were bidden rejected him, and he sent his servants out to all that would come in. Right now, there's trumpets being blown all over the earth. You
mm.
see these catastrophic events that cause you to stop and think that we might be drawing near the end. It's a warning, an alarm.
Mm. All praises.
What, walls of Jericho? How they blasted the shout, or they said the horns and the trumpets, along with the voice and the blast, the walls fell down. So just an example.
All praises. Spot on. We're gonna go there.
All praises.
Oh, my bad. So, as we look at what it says in red, is there another way of looking at these words, and then what can we glean? Right. So, an offering made by fire is why he corrupt him isha. Right. At least one of those words we know, or right we've heard. And it's translated as an offering made by fire. But what's the isha?
Come on with it.
Hmm. Right. So it's a dual meaning word, right? In one sense, it's a fire, but then we also know that the isha is a bride. It's a wife. Huh.
All
Fire, fire, fire. But and that's why it said that she was born of. Nah, let me stop. But yeah. So root of the first word is karab, right? Which is the same word for like a burnt offering or like drawing near, right? The verb in its verb form, it means to draw near. So literally, when we're looking at this, these offerings made by fire, quote unquote, could it be that they are also paralleling us being able to draw near as his bride?
Yeah, because it's gonna cost you something to ascend.
Mm,
It's extremely significant that Moshe went up the mountain by himself.
mm,
In order to draw near unto the Creator of all things,
mm,
you have to put some things to death. You have to shed some things off.
mm,
And on this side of the priesthood, those things have to be within you.
mhm,
Like putting cattle to death or putting somebody else to death ain't gonna help you draw near the Father.
mhm,
You got to put those things in you that are unlike Him to death.
mhm,
So literally, you become a burnt offering. You become an Isha.
mhm, mhm, mhm. All praises. So, what is a teruah, right? Like Aklati said, H8643, a clamor, that is acclamation of joy or a battle cry, especially clangor of trumpets, as an alarm, blowing of the trumpets, joy, a jubile or jubilee, a loud noise, rejoicing, shouting, high, joyful sounding. Excuse me. From H7321, Ruah, Tamar, especially by breaking, figuratively, to split the ears with sounding, that is, to shout, for alarm or joy, to blow an alarm, to cry out, cry aloud, to destroy, make a joyful noise, a shout for joy, sounding an alarm, triumph, right?
Uh-huh.
All praises. This is Brown Drivers Briggs. It's just an alarm, a signal, a sound of tempest, a shout, or blast of war, or alarm, or joy. Alarm of war is a war cry, battle cry. It's the blast for march. Um, just a shout of joy with a religious impulse or a shout of joy in general, right? So another way that this word is translated is as an awakening blast or awakening shout, right? It's an alarm. Literally, it's supposed to, if you sleep, if you whatever, it's supposed to wake you up and call you to action.
Come on.
Mm,
The sound of tempest.
mm.
Can I share something?
All praises.
This is from Psalm 50. Psalm chapter 50, starting at verse 2. Our Eluah or our Elohim shall come and shall not keep silence. A fire shall devour before him. It is very tempestuous round about him. A sound of tempest.
Mhm,
Something designed to wake you up if you're sleeping.
mhm.
Psalm 50, verse 2.
All praises.
Talking about your revelation.
Hmm.
Or is
All
that saying
praises.
his Isha is going to go before him
Mm,
with the sound of tempest,
mm,
trying to wake the people up before his comes?
mm. A voice of one crying in the wilderness. Mm. All praises. So consider how Yahuwah is crying out to us to wake us up, right? And then that's, I don't know if y'all can tell, but that is supposed to, that's Lawrence Fishburne from
Yeah, that's what I
yeah, wake up. That's why I was laughing when you said it. All praises. So notice how it's a loud blast, it's a loud awakening blast, it's a loud noise, right? So they call it the Feast of Trumpets because a teruah is the sound that the trumpet makes, right? It's not necessarily the trumpet. A teruah can be made by all sorts of things. It's just a loud noise, a loud shout. You can make it with your voice. Your voice can make a teruah. Shofar can make a teruah. A silver trumpet can make a teruah. Is a teruah is literally the sound that is made. So this is a day of that sound, not necessarily a day of the shofar,
Mm-hmm.
right? But this it's a day of the alarm. It's a day of remembering something that this alarm is supposed to be alarming for.
Come on.
Mm.
I would even think the drums
Mm-hmm.
loud booming, boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom, boom.
Mm-hmm. All praises. Numbers chapter 10. So, what is a teruah? Numbers chapter 10, starting at verse 1. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, make 2 silver trumpets for yourself, make them of beaten work, and you shall use them for the gathering of the congregation and for breaking camp. And when they blow, both of them, all the congregation shall meet before you at the door of the tent of appointment. And if they blow one, then the leaders, the heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather to you. And when you blow a shout, that word for shout is teruah, the camps that lie on the east side shall depart. And when you blow a shout or teruah the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall depart. They blow a shout for them to depart. So just keeping in mind that you being able to identify the teruah is going to tell you what action you're supposed to be doing,
Come on.
right?
If one blows with an unsure sound, how can the people be warned?
Mm.
Like, if it's not distinguishable,
Mm-hmm.
is that warning? Is that saying gathering? Does that mean war? Is a
Mm.
boy missing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does that sound mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All praises. All of our people we supposed to have knew. Oh, when we hear this teruah, that's what's being said.
Hmm.
This is what we do behind hearing this teruah.
It just makes me appreciate Abiyah and his warnings that he gives. It's beautiful because he could just, leave us in a place that we deserve to be at. But the fact that he's sending these warning signs of, the trumpets and the shouting and things like that, just Bamidbar Numbers 10, like the fact that it just shows that he's just and righteous in all his ways.
All praises. All praises. So verse 7, it says, and when the assembly is to be assembled, you blow, but do not shout. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, blow with the trumpets. And it shall be to you for a law forever throughout your generations. And when you go into battle in your land against the enemy that distresses you, then you shall shout with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before you who are your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies. So something about blasting these trumpets and something about this memorial, something about that when you remember, it's calling you to be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That's what it's saying.
Hmm.
And it literally made me think of, as you were speaking about it, it made me think of that law about the woman in the field. If she does not cry out, she gonna suffer the consequences of the actions that
Mhm.
just took place.
Mhm.
But if she cry out, ain't no harm gonna come to her. She's not worried, she's not worthy
Mhm.
of having her blood shed
Mhm.
because she cried out
Mhm.
and nobody was there to help her.
Mhm.
Which, if we are the Isha and we blow that trumpet, we cry out, we sound that
Mm.
alarm. And I
Mhm.
was just thinking about this the other day too, and it might have actually been earlier today. Like, we literally have to, talking about making our garments clean, talking about, I don't know why, I see why now, the thought crossed my mind. Like, I'm passing by a car and I'm like, yo, we literally have to disassociate ourselves from everything that is wicked and evil. Because if not, we gonna look like we right there in league with it.
Mhm.
Not for the sake of just, because the scripture does tell us to flee from even the appearance of evil. But even when we want to be helped, if we don't flee from even the appearance of evil, how's the Most High gonna tell the difference? And it's not that, like you were saying, there was something else that was brought out earlier. Not that he would forget us, but if we look like we enjoying the evil, he ain't finna pay attention to us.
Mhm.
That's what he means. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm gonna turn my face away. I'm gonna forget about you. Not that we leave his mind, but I'm not gonna pay no attention to you because you okay with
Mhm.
this mess.
Mhm.
No, we have to literally separate ourselves to show, Abba, I'm trying.
Mhm.
Father, I'm trying. I'm trying to not be okay with this mess.
Mhm.
Help me, because I don't know.
Mhm.
And you were saying something earlier too. You keep bringing up, wake up, wake up. What do we have to wake up to? We have to wake up to what we don't know. We are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We don't know all the ways in which evil has permeated our very beings.
Facts.
Sorry, I don't mean to take it on a tangent or anything, but
Mhm.
like, it's just calling all this stuff to mind. Like, we literally don't know. We think we okay when we come into this walk with just, I put this down, I put that down, I dress this way now, and I'm cool. No, we don't know how much, like, wickedness never sleeps. Legit,
Mm.
it never sleeps, and we don't know just how much of the wiles and the trickery of the devil has permeated even through our generations, to the point that it's become traditions, to the point that it's become habits, to the point that it's just become normalized. And that's what we have to wake up to, the stuff that's normalized that shouldn't be normalized,
Mhm.
and not think that we're okay, because we're not. We were just talking about this earlier. We know it, not to take it off in too much of a tangent, but we know about chimeras. Some of us know about chimeras and this and the third. You wouldn't know that your .gov sites have articles about chimeras and how they're being used now.
Mhm.
You wouldn't know that unless you actually are searching these things out. Like, we don't know what we don't know until we don't know it. So we have to constantly be asking the Father, help reveal to me, help wake me up,
Mhm.
show me, you know. So yeah, sorry.
All praises. What is that? Ezekiel 16,
Mm.
where he talks about like before you go out and tear this place up, find all of those that grieved and mourn.
Yeah.
Chapter 9.
Yeah, Ezekiel 9. All praises. Todai.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When she was talking, that's what was coming to mind. I
Mhm.
kind of skipped it, but I'm glad you caught it because, yeah, it's coming full circle. That's the point of you not being in agreement. In Revelations, she said, I'm going to put Jezebel in a bed. And all those that come in agreement with her to fornicate, I'm going to put them to death and their children. And that could be as simple as not realizing how you're being more like her than like the creator of all things.
Mhm.
And these ways, just for self defense purposes, could have been passed down for multiple generations.
Mm.
You really have to do some reading, do some praying, fasting, some understanding
Mhm.
to pick up what the Father's putting down, find out exactly how we need to change.
Mhm.
That washing of the garments is a difficult task. When we liken our spiritual activities to the washing of our garments, it's summed up in very few words, like his word says, speak little, understanding much. It's summed up in so few words. Stop doing evil. Put away your wicked doings from my face. That takes work.
Mm.
It takes work because we literally have no idea what's evil. We have been traditionalized, if that's right, brought up to believe certain things are wickedness and certain things are not. When that's not what the Father have ever said. He didn't say some things are. He didn't say this over here is wicked. Man said this over here was wicked. But we have no idea, and we still have these traditions and these things playing in the back. And I speak for me. I still have these traditions growing up in,
Mhm. All of us.
wherever I grew up in, and have these voices in the back of my head like, oh, don't do that. Don't get caught up on looking at that. Don't get caught up doing this over there and da 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 da. Because this is the. Wait a minute. What does the Father say about it? Really dig this thing out, because what we demonize and what we have allowed to be demonized could be the very thing that the Father is trying to use to set us free.
Mm. All praises. All praises. Awaken and blast.
Mhm.
All praises. So, verse 10, it says, "And in the day of your gladness, and in your appointed times," what is it? What are these feast days?
Any time.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that.
All praises. "And at the beginning of your new moon or months, you shall blow the trumpets over your ascendant offerings." Those, hmm, all praises, "over your ascendant offerings and over your slaughterings of peace offerings, and they shall be a remembrance for you before your Elohim. I am Yahuwah your Elohim." Hmm. So in this case, the trumpets are making a teruah. They are not the teruah, but they make a loud sound. A teruah is a loud sound, and it is made by many things, like we said. Right now, just keep that in mind because he's telling you, "I want you to make this loud sound with the trumpet, and I'm gonna remember you." But then Exodus 19, right? Exodus 19, starting at verse 16. Just something to keep in mind. It says, "And it came to be on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and a voice of a shofar was very strong. And all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim. And they stood at the foot of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it, because Yahuwah descended upon it in fire. And its smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and all the mountain trembled exceedingly. And when a voice of the shofar sounded long and became very strong, Moses spoke, and Elohim answered him by voice. And Yahuwah came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mountain. And Yahuwah called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. And Yahuwah said to Moses, "Go down and warn the people, lest they break through unto Yahuwah to see, and many of them fall. And let the priests who come near Yahuwah set themselves apart too, lest Yahuwah break out against them." So Yahuwah is what? He also is like the sound of a trumpet, getting louder and louder.
Mm-hmm.
So notice you're gonna be blowing this trumpet, and it's an awakening blast because something is about to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Question is, are you ready if this trumpet sounds? Something to think about. So that's
Indeed.
why like we said, these are rehearsals.
Mhm.
It's glory to glory. We should be really trying to get this thing homed in and get this thing right. Because just like he said, when that trumpet sounds and when he appears in this, don't let them come up too close to me,
Mhm.
lest they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna perish.
That part.
You'll be annihilated.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
It's like you said, I gave the nations the outer courts.
mm,
Yeah.
mhm,
By the time my people are resurrected and back on their feet, I don't expect those who it wasn't given to be held to the same standard as those
mm,
that are the descendants of the prophets,
mm,
of the priests, of my people.
mhm,
Um, but then there's a greater judgment for those that are supposed to know better.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All praises. So Job chapter 33, verse 23, it says, "If there is a messenger for him, a mediator, one among 1,000, to show man his straightness, then he shows favor to him and says, release him from going down to the pit." This is some deep stuff here when you really think about what's being said. "I have found an atonement." And then just the question is, what's the next feast day?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
"Let his flesh become fresher than a child's. Let him return to the days of his youth." Resurrected state.
Mhm.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Reborn.
Behold, All things. Okay, we know the rest, right?
Hmm.
It's old becoming like new. All right. He prays to Alua and he accepts him and he sees his face with joy. Now that word for joy is teruah. Hmm. So he gonna see his Elohim and
Shout for joy.
hmm, all praises. And he restores to man his righteousness. Now, mind you, we've been talking about renewing yourself and all these things. This season is an important season.
Yeah. And succession.
Mm-hmm.
It's a call to attention. Arm yourselves with the atonement
Mm-hmm.
so that at his coming you can have joy instead
Mm-hmm.
of condemnation.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Don't
All
miss it.
praises. Mm-hmm. All praises. He sings to men and says, I have sinned and I have perverted what was right, and it did not profit me. Hmm. He has redeemed my being from going down to the pit, and my life sees the light. Is that not the same message that they was telling them in Ezra? Yeah, this happened, but this is the reason why you should be shouting for joy.
Yep, Nehemiah.
All praises. Mm-hmm.
No worries.
So,
The prodigal son.
mm-hmm.
He's learned the error of his ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna throw a feast for him.
All praises.
Wedding feast.
Mm-hmm. All praises. See, El does all these twice, three times with a man.
Hmm.
He does all these twice, three times with a man to bring back his being from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living.
Come on.
Hmm. This is something like we was hitting on all of this just a moment ago, right? Light, living, darkness, death.
Wake up
Hmm.
from where? From the pit,
Mm-hmm.
from being cut off,
Mm-hmm.
alienated from the commonwealth of Israel
Mm-hmm.
because of scarlet and crimson like sin.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a propitiation because the blood of goats and bulls could never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not even back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 2 and 3 times. How merciful is he?
Mm-hmm.
To where he would even set up a system for us to use bulls and goats for a time,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that that wasn't going to cut it. But so y'all can get close to me now.
Mm-hmm. All praises. So they translated that word as joy, but the word for joy is teruah, a loud sound. When Yahuwah sees this man, he sees his face shouting a loud noise. And then he restores to man his righteousness. Notice the next verse, what the man notice in the next verse what the man has been restored by Yahuwah is saying. He speaks his testimony of his deliverance. Remember what we were talking about earlier about the garments and compare all of this to resurrection in the kingdom.
Mhm.
All right, so something to think about. Psalm 27, verse 1, it says, Yahuwah is my light and my deliverance. Whom should I fear? Yahuwah is my refuge, is the refuge of my life. Whom should I dread? When evildoers come against me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and my enemies, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamps against me, my heart does not fear. Though battle comes up against me, even then I would be trusting. One matter I asked of Yahuwah, this I seek, to dwell in the house of Yahuwah all the days of my life, to see the pleasantness of Yahuwah and to inquire in his Hekal. For in the day of evil he hides me in his booth. In the covering of his tent he hides me. On a rock he raises me up. And now my head is lifted up above my enemies all around, and I slaughter in his tent with slaughterings of sounding. Word there for sounding is teruah. I sing, yes, I sing praises to Yahuwah. Hear, O Yahuwah, when I cry with my voice, and show me favor, and answer me. To my heart you have said, seek my face, your face, Yahuwah, I seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in displeasure. You have been my help. Do not leave me nor forsake me, O Elohim of my deliverance. When my father and my mother have forsaken me, then Yahuwah does take me in. Teach me your way, O Yahuwah, and lead me in a smooth path because of my enemies. Do not give me over to the desire of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me, and they breathe out cruelty to me. What if I had not believed to see the toldness or goodness of Yahuwah in the land of the living? Wait on Yahuwah. Be strong and let him strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on Yahuwah. And then earlier it talked about what that strength was. All praises.
Well, yeah. Just want to point out verse 9 here. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in displeasure.
Mm,
In his statement, is he asking the Father to just ignore his wrong state?
mm,
Just be all right with the way that I am?
mm,
Let me
mhm,
come as I am and stay as I am?
mhm,
No, he's calling for correction.
mhm,
So we have to be okay with correction. We actually are responsible for seeking it out.
mhm,
He's going to allow the pattern of our ways to continue until we identify it as he sees it, come
mhm,
into agreement with it enough to seek out correction,
mhm,
and then enact that correction.
mhm.
This is how we reason with him instead of reasoning against him.
That part. All praises. All praises. Psalm 89, verse 1. It says, I sing of the loving commitment of Yahuwah forever. With my mouth I make known your trustworthiness to all generations. For I said, loving commitment is built up forever. You establish your trustworthiness in the heavens. You said, I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn to my servant David. I establish your seed forever and shall build up your throne to all generations. Selah. And the heavens praise your wonders, O Yahuwah, your trustworthiness too in the assembly of the set apart ones. For who in the heavens is comparable to Yahuwah? Who among the sons of the mighty is like Yahuwah? El is greatly feared in the company of the set apart ones, and awesome above all those around him. O Yahuwah, Elohim of hosts, who is mighty like you, O Yah? And your trustworthiness is all around you. You rule the swelling of the sea. When his waves rise, you still them. You have broken Rahab in pieces as one who is slain. You have scattered your enemies with the arm of your strength. The heavens are yours. The earth also is yours. The world and all that fills it. You have founded them, north and south. You have created them. Tabor and Hermon rejoice in your name. You have a mighty arm. Your hand is strong, your right hand exalted. Righteousness and right ruling are the foundation of your throne. Hmm.
Come on.
Loving commitment and truth go before your face. Blessed are the people who know the sounding. Again, the sounding is a teruah. So blessed are the people that know the teruah. Hmm. They walk, O Yahuwah, in the light of your face. All praises. The sounding is the teruah. The question is, do you know the joyful sound? Do you know the alarm? Do you know what the trumpet is doing when the trumpet is doing?
When the Father speaking, do you understand the words that's coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, all praises. All praises. Psalm 33, verse 1. Rejoice in Yahuwah, O you righteous, for praise is comely for the upright. For the sinner,
Put it up, right?
all praises.
Free.
Cut it out.
Praise Yahuwah with heart. Sing unto him with the psaltery and an instrument of 10 strings. Sing unto him a new song. Play skillfully with a loud noise. The loud noise is the teruah. For the word of Yahuwah is right, and all his works are done in truth. He loveth righteousness and judgment. The earth is full of the goodness of Yahuwah. By the word of Yahuwah the heavens were made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth. He gathered the waters of the sea together as a heap. He laid the deaf in storehouses. Let all the earth fear Yahuwah. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. For he spake, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. Yahuwah bringeth the counsel of the heathen to nothing. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. The counsel of Yahuwah stands forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose Elohim is Yahuwah, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance. Again, we keep coming back to this choosing, this being chosen. We've been called, we've been invited, we've been chosen. I haven't dealt so with any other nation. You and you alone have I known out of all the nations of the earth. This is a big deal.
Hmm.
What he's doing.
His his throne sits on a foundation of
Mm.
righteousness and
Mhm.
truth. Everything around us is governed by a spiritual authority, but
Mhm.
his throne sits on something specific.
Mm. All praises.
All of his works are done in truth.
Mhm.
So when we come to realize that as heinous as the things that we've suffered in this country have been, because he sent us here to learn humility,
Mhm.
to be humiliated, that we
Mhm.
might turn away from our wickedness and turn toward him. If we really want to be able to shout with the teruah, play skillfully with the loud shout,
Mhm.
and mean this when we say it, we got to say we deserved it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That part.
Father,
Mhm.
you ain't unjust,
Mhm.
and I don't need to start a militia. I need to repent.
Mhm.
Now we learn to defend ourselves in righteousness. That's a whole nother force to be reckoned with.
Mhm.
But if we ain't looking for his correction and
Mhm.
willing to say that we deserved it,
Mhm.
then we just asking for a whole nother whooping.
Mhm.
Yep, if you
Mhm. What that man in Job just say? I dealt deceitfully.
Mm-hmm.
I sinned,
Uh huh. Come on.
but now he don't raise me up from the pit, and
Yeah.
because of that, I can make the joyful noise.
Come on.
Without accepting that and acknowledging that, nah. All praises.
Yeah. So then you don't get mad at the person that calls out your sin. You're
Mhm.
like, nah, I'm humiliated and I deserve it.
Mhm.
I sinned
Mhm.
and I deserve it.
Mhm.
Father, you just, and I'm not going to ask them to be blind so that I don't have to change.
Mhm.
Nah, I've been a fool and paid for it. But you got
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
if I can just add, like, going back off of that a little bit, like, that's one thing that I can honestly say I don't hear a whole lot. Maybe I'm not listening to a whole lot, but I don't hear enough of in a lot of people's, not to throw any of that, but I don't hear enough people talking about that. Like when it says cry aloud and spare not, it says show Israel their faults. Literally everything that's going on to us that's happening and everything we're getting paid back to our face. That means it's a check that we wrote. What what mama said, don't write a check that your blank can't cash.
Mhm.
We wrote a check that our blank we can't cash this.
Mhm.
If we keep looking at surely oppression make somebody mad. We keep looking at this oppression and it's making us, it's driving us crazy, it's making us
Mhm.
upset, blood boiling. We want to get back all of this, that, and the third, but at the end of the day, we wrote the check.
Mhm.
And we wrote the check when we dealt with one another like that. Not only when we dealt with one another like that, let's put it like we dealt with Hamashiach like that.
Mhm.
What he told Dawid um, when he killed Uriah. Or what you use the hand
Mhm.
or the sword of the other nation, but you did it.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was our folks that was saying, "Give us Barabbas."
Mhm. Mhm.
It was his own people, his own nation, talking about give us Barabbas.
Mhm.
Everything that's been happening to us, we did it first,
Mhm.
And we got Barabbas
and
as a head.
we
As an
got
Mhm.
authority.
Barabbas.
Mhm.
Murder.
Mhm.
What is Barabbas?
Mhm.
Bar Abba, son of somebody.
Yeah,
Somebody's son. We got
somebody. Yeah, I'm that baby pappy.
we got somebody's son. We did not accept Ha Mashiach. When he came in the flesh, we didn't accept him. So we got somebody else's son. We sure did. And we still holding on to somebody else's son, to that other word, to that other teaching, to that other opinion. We still holding on to that mess to this day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we don't hear something about this captivity. This is why I appreciate the something about this captivity lessons that keep coming out,
Mhm.
and all of the ones that you keep bringing out, breaking
Mhm.
all of this stuff down, because literally we did this first. Along with the salvation of Yasharal, we keep seeing over and over and over again how the Most High
Mhm.
keep bailing us out. If we look at all these stories as well, we could literally see piece by piece how we fell. Way back when the 12 patriarchs was up, wasn't Judah the one that says sell him? Wasn't Judah the one that was doing it first? Ain't that in the character of Judah now to this day? They will sell you down the river for like for real. We would do each other so bad. We will do each other so bad and have so much malice and evil in our eye towards one another, be trying to get over on one another. When the script says prefer one another, when that's our requirement, is to do right by one another. The one that look just like you, don't tell me that you love me, and the one that look just like you still trying to, you gon' you taking their last $5 and ain't got no remorse about it whatsoever. Like, yeah.
Says right there, he brings the counsel of the heathen to naught. Like, counsel of the heathen, they ain't got no skin color. That's a mindset.
And that's the other thing about this captivity is when we really understand it, when we really start to understand, number one, it'll show because we'll start doing what the script says actually do. We won't be doing all this bickering. We won't be doing all of this outward show. We won't be doing all of this, whatever, whatever. But when we actually start to understand, it'll actually show. And then literally, the way we operate with one another will make the heathen's counsel come to nothing. We don't have to focus on outside of us. Yes, we know they go over and beyond. And yes, it does tick us off, and rightfully so, because they do go over and beyond. But when we seek the Most High 10 times more, when we go over and beyond trying to seek the Most High that much more, and we say, no, I see what you're doing over there. Let me go and buckle down even more with my folks. Let me show more of the righteousness of the Most High. Let me, excuse me, do my best to eschew evil. It's going to make their counsel come to nothing. He's going to take those scales off of our eyes, and we're going to be able to see. We're going to be able to see how the wiles of the devil and all of that stuff. And they ain't going to be able to, they're not going to be able to fool us. They're not going to be able to get away with the same old, same old. That's just the way that it works out. And that's the real trick being played. We think we got to focus on everything else. We got to do all of this stuff. No, we have to, when it comes to oppression and all of that, no, we have to reprove it. We have to convict it. No, I see what you're doing over there, and I'm not taking that. I'm going to point out the stumbling blocks. But do I need to, like you said, start a militia? No, I don't need to start no militia, because it's the words of my mouth that's going to stop you right in your tracks. It's going to sound the alarm that's going to stop you right in your tracks. And ain't nobody else finna fool with you over there, because we see what you're doing. and blah 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 blah. Sorry.
Praises. Just wanted to reiterate, everything around us is ruled by a spiritual authority. Either you under Yahuwah's authority, or it's under the authority of wickedness.
Mhm. Mhm. All praises. All praises. Uh, what verse were we? Verse 11.
Yeah.
All praises. The counsel of Yahuwah stands forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose Elohim is Yahuwah, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance. Yahuwah looks from heaven, he beholdeth all the sons of men. From the place of his habitation he looked upon all the inhabitants of the earth. He fashioned their hearts alike, he considers all their works. All praises. So the Teruah and the building of the kingdom. Ezra 1 and 1, it says, and in the first year of Cyrus, uh, sovereign of Persia, that the word of Yahuwah by the mouth of Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah might be accomplished. Yahuwah stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, sovereign of Persia, to proclaim throughout all his reign, and also in writing, saying, thus said Cyrus, king of Persia. Yahuwah Elohim of the heavens has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has commanded me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Yehuda. Who is among you of all his people? His Elohim be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Yehuda, and build the house of Yahuwah Elohim of Israel. He is Elohim, which is in Jerusalem. And whoever is left from all the places where he sojourns, let the men of his place help him with silver and gold, with goods and livestock, besides the voluntary offerings for the house of Elohim, which is in Jerusalem. And the heads of the fathers' houses of Yehuda and Benjamin, with and the priests and the Levites, with all those whose spirits Elohim has stirred, rose up to go and build the house of the house of Yahuwah, which is in Jerusalem. And all those round about them strengthened their hands with objects of silver and gold, and goods and livestock, and with valuables, besides all that was voluntarily offered. Right, jumping down to chapter 2, verse 1. And these are the sons of the province who came back from the captivity of the exiles, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel,
Hmm.
had exiled to Babel, and who returned to Jerusalem and Yehuda, each to his own city, who came with Zerubbabel, Yeshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, Realiah, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispar, Bigwai, Rehum, Baana. And or it says the number of the men of these of the people of Israel. Hmm. Ezra chapter 3, verse 1. Now, when the seventh new month came, or seventh new moon came, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered as one man to Jerusalem. And Yeshua, the son of Jozadak, and his brothers, the priests, Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and his brothers, arose and built the slaughter place of the Elohim of Israel to offer ascendant offerings on it, as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of Elohim. So they set the slaughter place on its stands, being afraid of the peoples of the lands, and they offered ascendant offerings on it to Yahuwah, both the morning and the evening ascendant offerings. And they performed the festival of Sukkot, as it is written, and the daily ascending offerings by number, according to the right ruling for each day. And afterward, the continual ascendant offering, and those for new moons or new months, and for all the appointed times of Yahuwah that were set apart. Also for everyone who volunteered a voluntary offering to Yahuwah. From the first day of the seventh new month, which is trumpets,
Mm-hmm.
they began to offer ascendant offerings to Yahuwah. But the foundation of the Haykal of this temple of Yahuwah had not been laid. And they gave silver to the stonemasons and the carpenters, and food and drink and oil to the people of Sidon and in Tyre or Sor, to bring cedar logs from Lebanon to the sea at Yaffo, according to the permission which they had from Cyrus, king of Persia. So a lot going on.
Mhm.
And notice that Trumpets is the kickoff to this whole thing that's going on,
Yeah.
to this rebuilding of this temple, so they can get ready for Sukkot. Because something is supposed to happen at Sukkot, right?
Mhm.
Hmm. This tabernacle amongst man.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Dwelling place for the Almighty. Preparation being made.
Hmm. All praises. It says, and in the second new month of the second year of their coming to the house of Elohim, to Jerusalem, Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua son of Jozadak, and the rest of their brothers, the priests and the Levites, and all those who had come out of the captivity to Jerusalem, began, and they appointed the Levites from 20 years old and above to oversee the work of the house of Yahuwah. And Yeshua stood up, his sons and his brothers, Cadmiel with his sons, and the sons of Yehuda together to oversee those working on the house of Elohim. The sons of Henadad with their sons and their brothers, the Levites. And when the builders laid the foundation of the Hakal of Yahuwah, they appointed the priests in their robes with trumpets, and the Levites, the sons of Asaph, with cymbals to praise Yahuwah after the order of David, king of Israel. And they responded by praising and giving thanks to Yahuwah, for he is Tober, he is good. For his loving commitment towards Israel is forever. And all the people shouted with a great shout when they praised Yahuwah, because the foundation of the house of Yahuwah was laid. And many of the priests and Levites and heads of the fathers' houses, the old men who had seen the first house, wept with a loud voice, loud voice Teruah, when the foundation of this house was laid before their eyes. And many
Mhm.
shouted aloud for joy. And the people could not distinguish the noise of the shout of joy from the noise of the weeping of the people. For the people shouted with a loud shout, and the sound was heard far away. Again, the word for shout here is Teruah, right? So all praises. See how this process started with the Teruah, and now it's ending with the Teruah. After all these months done passing, and finally got the temple or the foundations laid for the temple.
Uh-huh.
Hmm. So trumpets is part of a process of getting this temple rebuilt and getting this thing right.
Uh-huh.
All praises. So what I want us to see is that this day is a rehearsal for the coming of Yahuwah's kingdom. As the awakening blast of the Teruah is being sounded, Yahuwah is waking us up that we can prepare for his kingdom, because next is atonement, and after that is tabernacles. Remember, each feast is preparing us for tabernacles with Yahuwah, right? Deuteronomy Devarim 30, verse 1. And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the nations where Yahuwah your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yahuwah your Elohim and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children. Then Yahuwah your Elohim shall turn back your captivity and have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where Yahuwah your Elohim has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under the heavens, from there Yahuwah does your Elohim does gather you, and from there he does take you. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. And he shall do tobe to you and increase you more than your fathers. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed to love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, so that you might live. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall put these curses on your enemies and on all those who hate you, who persecuted you. And you shall turn back and obey the voice of Yahuwah and do all his commands, which I command you today. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall make you have excess in all the work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, in the fruit of your livestock, in the fruit of your ground, for good. For Yahuwah turns back to rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim to guard his commands and his laws, which are written in this book of the Torah, if you turn back to Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being.
Hmm.
All praises. Matthew chapter 3, starting at verse 1. And in those days, Yehukanan John the Mercer came proclaiming in the wilderness of Yehuda and saying, repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near. For this is he who was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, a voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahuwah, make his path straight. And Yehukanan had a garment of camel's hair and a leather girdle about his waist, and his food was locusts and wild honey. Then Jerusalem and all Yehuda and all the country around the Jordan went out to him, and they were immersed by him in the Jordan, confessing their sins. And seeing many of the Pharisees and Sadducees coming to his immersion, he said to them, brood of adders, who has warned you to flee from the coming wrath? Bear therefore fruits worthy of repentance, and do not think to say to yourselves, we have Abraham as father. For I say to you that Elohim is able to raise up children to Abraham from these stones. And the axe is already laid at the root of the trees. Every tree then which does not bear tobe fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. I indeed immerse you in water unto repentance, but he who is coming after me is mightier than I, whose sandals I am not worthy to bear. He shall immerse you in the set apart spirit and fire. His winnowing fork is in his hand. He shall thoroughly cleanse his threshing floor and gather his wheat into the storehouse. But the chaff he shall burn with unquenchable fire. Something to think about. There's something to think about. Again, just some stuff to keep in mind when we're talking about these blasts, these trumpets, these knowing the sound of the trumpets, what to do when you hear them. Just something to think about. Joshua chapter 6, verse 1. It says, now Jericho was straightly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And Yahuwah said to Joshua, see, I have given into thine hand Jericho and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. And you shall compass the city, all you men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shall you do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And the 7th day you shall compass the city 7 times, and the priest shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet. Now, mind you, we saw earlier that Yahuwah was heard as a long blast of the trumpet, right? All the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up, every man straight before him. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahuwah. Now the question is, what accompanied the ark?
The ark of Yahweh was the ark.
All praises.
Whenever the ark was there, it was a sign that Abba Yah was with them.
All praises. Right? So that means all I'm gonna say is know the sound of the trumpet. Because we also saw times where the ark went out and he wasn't with them. It was all bad. Philistines whooped them up. First Samuel chapter 6. There's something to think about. All praises. Seven trumpets. The Teruah in end times. Revelation 8:6. And the seven messengers who held the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. And the first messenger sounded, and there came to be hail and fire mixed with blood, and they were thrown into the earth. A third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. And the second messenger sounded, and what looked like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed, and a third messenger sounded, and a great star fell from the Shamayim, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the fountains of water. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And a third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the waters because they were made bitter. And the fourth messenger sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them were darkened, and a third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. And I looked, and I heard an eagle flying in mid heaven, crying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to those dwelling upon the earth, because of the remaining blast of the trumpet of the three messengers who are about to sound. Revelation 11:15. And the seventh messenger sounded, and there came to be loud voices in the heavens saying, The reign of this world has become the reign of our master and of his Mashiach, and he shall reign forever and ever. We was just talking about what that is founded on and what that's based on. I mean, this place gonna get turned upside down because it ain't operating in none of them ways. All praises. And the 24 elders sitting before Elohim on their thrones fell on their faces and worshipped Elohim, saying, We give you thanks, O Yahuwah El Shaddai, the one who is and who was and who is coming, because you have taken your great power and reign. And the nations were enraged. I wonder why that is. And your wrath has come, and the time of the dead to be judged, and to give the reward to your servants, the prophets, and to the set apart ones, and to those who fear your name, small and great, and to destroy those who destroy the earth. And the dwelling place of Elohim was opened in the Shamayim, and the ark of his covenant was seen in his dwelling place. There's that ark again. And there came to be lightnings and voices, those lightnings and those voices and thunders and an earthquake and a great hail. All praises.
Yeah. Yeah.
All praises. First Thessalonians 4:11. It says, And to make it your ambition to live peaceably, and to attend to your own, and to work with your own hands, as we commanded you, so that you behave decently towards those who are outside, and not be in any need. Now, brothers, we do not wish you to be ignorant concerning those who have fallen asleep, awaken and blast, lest you be sad as others who have no expectation. So a remembrance and expectation coming. For if we believe that Yahusha died and rose again, so also Elohim shall bring with him those who sleep in Yahusha. For this we say to you by the word of the master, that we, the living who are left over at the coming of the master, shall in no way go before those who are asleep, because the master himself shall come down from Shamayim with a shout. So something about these loud shouts and these loud trumpet blasts. Hmm. With the voice of a chief messenger and with the trumpet of Elohim. And the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. Then we, the living who are left over, shall be caught away together with them in the clouds to meet the master in the air. So we shall always be with the master. So then, encourage one another with these words. Hmm.
All praises. This is kind of addressing what you were saying. What usually accompanies the ark, or the law that's kept in this ark.
Hmm.
In one place, it's worded kind of funny, but if you meditate on it, you'll see it's telling you that He dwells in the midst of His law.
Hmm.
It brings us all the way back to the beginning of coming into agreement with Him. When His law is in you, it's your motivating force, it's your governing authority, it's your comfort. When you realize that He's still correcting you, you know He's still paying attention to you. Therefore, there's a chance you can receive mercy of Him if you're in agreement.
Hmm.
He's not coming back to destroy His law. So if you
Hmm.
get that in you, you got a chance no matter what's going on outside of you.
Hmm.
That we might be a part of that remaining, or a
Hmm.
part that went to sleep in Mashiach.
Hmm. Hmm. All praises. All praises. All praises. I'm gonna skip this next slide. It's just the first part of Thessalonians for whatever reason. You must have flipped those, got them out of order. But yeah, all praises. Matthew 24, verse 3, it says, and as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him separately, saying, say to us, what shall this be? And what is the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Jumping down to verse 29. And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and and the stars shall fall from the Shamayim, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then the sign of the son of Adam shall appear in the Shamayim, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn. Again, I wonder why they're gonna be mourning. And they shall see the son of Adam coming on the clouds of the heavens with power and much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet. Again, the question earlier was, do you know that sound?
Wasn't there a sound that went out before the Mashiach was crucified
Mm,
or put to death?
mm,
Wasn't there a sound that went out before 70 AD?
mm,
A distinctive sound.
mm,
Prophet after prophet,
mm,
seer after seer.
mm. My oh my. And they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. And then we already saw what the requirement with that was in Deuteronomy 30. All praises. All praises. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 1 says, but brothers, I make known to you the told news which I brought as told news to you, which you also did receive, and in which you stand, through which also you are being saved, if you hold fast that word I brought as told news to you. Otherwise, you have believed in vain. For I delivered to you at the first that which I also received, that Mashiach died for our sins according to the scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he was raised the third day according to the scriptures, and that he was seen by Kepha, then by the 12. After that, he was seen by over 500 brothers at one time, of whom the greater part remain till now, but some have fallen asleep. After that, he was seen by Jacob or James, then by all the emissaries. And last of all, he was seen by me also, as if to one born prematurely. For I am the least of the emissaries, who am not worthy to be called an emissary, because I persecuted the assembly of Elohim. But by the favor of Elohim, I am what I am, and his favor toward me was not in vain. But I labored much more than they all, yet not I, but the favor of Elohim with me. Whether then it was I or they, so we proclaim, and so you believe. And if Mashiach is proclaimed that he has been raised from the dead, how do some among you say that there is no resurrection of the dead? Now, mind you, when we talk about obviously resurrection from the dead, like we said earlier, it's a twofold thing. As we going through these rehearsals, what is this awakening blast trying to get us to do? Mm, mm,
When a seed is in a dormant or a dead state, it's unfruitful.
mm,
Separate from the unfruitful works of darkness.
mm,
Arise from the dead.
mm. All praises. All praises. And it says, verse 4, it says, and if Mashiach has not been raised, then our proclaiming is empty, and your belief also empty. And we are also found false witnesses of Elohim, because we have witnessed of Elohim that he has raised up Mashiach, whom he did not raise up, if then the dead are not raised. For if the dead are not raised, then neither Mashiach has been raised. And if Mashiach has not been raised, your belief is to no purpose. You are still in your sins. Then also those who have fallen asleep in Mashiach have perished. If in this life only we have expectation in Mashiach, we are of all men the most wretched. But now Mashiach has been raised from the dead and has become the first fruit of those having fallen asleep. For since death is through a man, resurrection of the dead also through a man. For as all die in Adam, so also, all shall be made alive in Mashiach, and each in his own order. Mashiach the first fruits, then those who are of Mashiach at his coming, then the end, when he delivers up the reign to Elohim the Father, when he has brought to naught or nothing all rule and all authority and power. For he has to reign until he has put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy to be brought to nothing is death, for he has put all under his feet. But when he says all are put under him, it is clear that he who put all under him is accepted. All praises. And when all are made subject to him, then the Son himself shall also be subject to him who put all under him, in order that Elohim be all in all. Otherwise, what shall they do who are immersed for the dead? If the dead are not raised at all, why indeed are they immersed for the dead? And why do we stand in danger every hour? I affirm by the boasting in you which I have in Mashiach Yahusha our master. I die day by day. If, as men do, I have fought with beasts at Ephesus, of what tobe is it to me if the dead are not raised? Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. Do not be led astray. Evil company corrupts good habits. Wake up to soberness righteously and do not sin, for some do not have the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. But go ahead.
I was gonna say that that line was deep. Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. We were reproved in Isaiah for that, because where he was calling for us to repent, we was like, let us take our fill, because we're gonna die anyway. It's wild.
All praises. Not hearing the trumpet sound for what it is. It ain't telling you to do that. It's telling you something is coming. Mm, mm. But staying asleep when the trumpet is sounding, that's the alternative. Well, let us eat and drink to our fill. Mm. All praises. It says, but someone might say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? Senseless one. What you sow is not made alive unless it dies. And just like Ak was talking about that seed. And as to what you sow, you do not sow the body which is to be, but a bare grain. It might be wheat or some other grain, but Elohim gives it a body as he wishes, and to each seed a body of its own. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one flesh of men, and another flesh of beasts, and another of fishes, and another of birds. And there are heavenly bodies and earthly bodies, but the esteem of the heavenly is truly one, and the esteem of the earthly is another. One esteem of the sun, and another esteem of the moon, and another esteem of the stars, for stars differ from star in esteem. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in disrespect, it is raised in esteem. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it has been written, the first man, Adam, became a living being, as we was talking about earlier. And the last Adam, a living gift. Or I'm sorry, a life-giving spirit, a living gift. Dyslexia. And the last Adam, a life-giving spirit. The spiritual, however, was not first, but the natural, and afterward the spiritual. The first man was of the earth, earthy. The second man is the master from the heaven, or is the master from heaven, as is the earthly. So also are those who are earthy, and as is the heavenly, so also are those who are heavenly. And as we have borne the likeness of the earthy, we shall also bear the likeness of the heavenly. And this I say, brothers, that flesh and blood is unable to inherit the kingdom of Elohim, neither does corruption inherit incorruption. See, I speak a secret to you. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the what? At the last trumpet. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. Some kind of rehearsal this is. Mm. For this corruptible has to put on incorruption, and this mortal to put on immortality. And when this corruptible has put on incorruptible, and this mortal has put excuse me, and this mortal has put on immortality, excuse me, then shall come to be the word that has been written. Death is swallowed up in overcoming. Mm. And what? Overcoming. We've been like just on that like for a minute now, haven't we? Huh. Oh, death, where's your sting? Oh, Sheol, where's your overcoming? And the sting of death is the sin, and the power of the sin is the Torah. But thanks to Elohim, who gives us the overcoming through our master Mashiach, Yahusha. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the work of the master, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the master. All praises. That's the lesson. That's something to think about and consider as we go into this season.
Yeah, like you said, we've been on overcoming. It seems lesson after lesson for a while. Is that a trumpet?
Mm,
Could it be?
mm,
Might be heard by few, but does that change the sound that it gives?
mm. Message. All praises. All praises.
No, but I would like to say, trumpets prepares those who can recognize the teruah and afflict themselves in getting right with the Father. So from trumpets to atonement, from atonement to tabernacles, remembering Matthew 22, so that at his coming we can be found in an appropriate wedding garment, be welcomed into his presence.
Praises. All praises.
So blessed.
All praises to the King. Yeah, that part. He the best. So won't he do it? Right? Yeah. But yeah, like I said, next time, Father willing, moving into the season, it kicked off them trying to get the foundation to the temple right. Some supposed to come and dwell within that temple. Work got to be done.
Mm-hmm.
The sword in one hand.
Come on.
All praises.
Let's go. In your humility, defend yourself against the accusations of the wicked one seeking to devour.
Mm.
And in your humility, help strengthen your neighbor.
Mm.
That way you can love on your allure through doing so.
Mm.
Thus rebuilding the temple.
Mm-hmm.
All praises.
All praises.
All praises to the Most High. Well, if that is all for this Sabbath lesson, then to that we're going to say, may the Most High keep us. May He hear us in our times of distress. May He make us exponentially so much more than we are this day. And may that be for our toe and not for our demise. And yeah, with that being said, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shalom.